structure, a theological message, and turning it into a socio-political structure that gives them practically and actually absolute control over the lives of a billion people on Earth, you know?
Yeah, I mean, this Krishna consciousness movement is expected to spread in every town and villages. And if you follow the
But it
ISKCON,
won't do it all by itself.
right?
And it seems that all the vices that occurred in the ISKCON movement with the Kanista initiators and all that, they could read this writing and find a way of making it work for them, creating that sort of what you call it, you know, the creating the what am I saying? Creating a self-serving structure out of it, even though the Shastra warns against that.
What do you mean by that specifically? Can you explain in 2 minutes? What do you mean by?
Well, I'll try to make it less than two.
Yes.
Oh, that in other words, they can read the instructions and they will then take those instructions, preach those instructions as their own property for their own purposes, rather than expanding the movement to be all inclusive.
Yeah, I mean, one observation is that anyone who joins Srila Prabhupada's movement should be able to go out and open temples, centers, farm communities by actually learning.
Yeah, that's the basic structure Prabhupada created. It's just a few sentences long.
Yeah.
It isn't complicated. It doesn't call for endless GBC resolutions and endless meetings in Mayapur at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Prabhupada's system was simply hierarchy. You open a temple, incorporate it. Open another one, incorporate it. Each person who incorporates it is his corporation.
What do you mean his corporation? It's Prabhupada's corporation.
Well, his corporation. But he has he has incorporated it in his own name as the incorporator.
Oh, okay. So he's like just a manager in the institution, right? It doesn't.
Well, yeah. I mean, anytime you have a corporation, you have a board of directors of some sort.
Right.
And in ISKCON, they've turned the GBC into a permanent seated board of directors, but which is stifling to the purpose that Prabhupada created. So you see, so the individual person incorporating individually, he then is in charge of his branch of ISKCON, and as long as he follows the basic structure that Prabhupada created when he incorporated ISKCON to begin with, if he follows that structure, there will be no problem.
Right. Very powerful.
There will be no problem in expanding indefinitely, because frankly, there's no way to stop people at that point. You can't stop someone from opening a temple.
Right.
Suppose you have a temple and somebody next door wants to open a temple. You can't say, hey, this is my territory. I need the neighbors to come and bring me vegetables and flowers. You don't you dare put a temple there. Can't stop him. So I keep thinking that, like in Los Angeles, you have areas that are poor, Black, Afro-American, Hispanic areas that are poor.
Right.
Can you just imagine if they get somehow or other control over a whole city block with people with individual temples in their apartment buildings, maybe one apartment building's a temple, maybe one apartment in the apartment building's a temple, and you take out all the fences behind them. I saw that actually in Berkeley. They took out, you know how on a block, all the houses have back fences separating the property from the guys across the way.
Yes.
Well, they took all the fences out.
Why?
So it was one great parkland between all the houses.
Because
this was back in the 60s.
Because the temple owned the property, that's why?
Well, no, these were not temples. This was just karmis. These were people that were, actually trying for a more a more progressive lifestyle without greed being the primary factor of privacy and ownership. But if it was a temple, can you imagine that area in the middle could be gardens for everybody,
right?
For their own temples to offer. They work like a community garden, and they can have playgrounds for the children. They can have theaters for them to do Krishna conscious plays.
Yeah, amazing.
They can, all these things could be done amongst women getting welfare right now with their children, eating garbage food at the daycare center.
Right.
So instead of that, they could stay there. They're on welfare. They're not working, so they could stay there, take care of their children instead of the daycare center, give them Krishna prasadam instead of fifth-class government surplus garbage, and create a wonderful atmosphere, all vegetarian. And when they are doing, can you imagine? I just had that is years ago, decades ago, of a woman walking with her little daughter or son and daughter walking down the street, looking over the fence and seeing these people having the most wonderful time. And they're all, say it's black community. It's all black people, Afro-American people, having a wonderful time, dressing up like Krishna, doing plays, having prasadam, weaving, making clothes, doing everything out there in the open, And she says, how are you doing that? And they say, well, would you like to take part? Yes, I would. Well, but you have to be vegetarian. Well, I'm not vegetarian. Well, if you want to take part, you need to be vegetarian. But leaving that aside, look at what we're doing. It's wonderful. I wish my children could take part. Well, they can. But if you want to take part, you can take your children and give money for them to take part. Or you can join and become a devotee like us, Kanistadakari devotees. And if you become a Kanistadakari devotee, then you can come in and all you have to do is take all of our welfare checks communally and make a wonderful life that we could not have individually.
Jai, that's something, it's very important, because the other day when I went to take the video of the property, all these people work together. They live up there. Sometimes the tree falls down. The guy has a chainsaw in his, truck. He goes, cuts it up, throws it away, and they work together like a community. They have a community garden. They have a community market. So somewhat that is going on, in places.
Well, that's where Karl Marx was correct, and that's as far as his correctness really went. With the dictatorship of the proletariat, it only works in a village atmosphere like that, where you have like the Shudras all get together and can create a lifestyle.
Yeah.
It will not work for Daiva Varnashram at all, but it works great when you do it like that. There's a movie which is, if you ever watch movies, is worth seeing, called Seven Brides for Seven Brothers. And it's about the Midwest, or Texas or Midwest or something like that, where they did a barn raisings. Barn raising means you get people from 6, 8, 10 different farms in the neighborhood, and they come in and help one man build a barn on his property. He couldn't do it by himself.
We have a barn.
And then you have cooking and baking and children playing and everything like that. It's a wonderful mood that is generated in a barn raising. And that movie, Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, came out in the 50s or something. It was a good example of what it was like. Of course, you're going to see a lot of people roasting flesh or something like that, but the basic spirit of it can be easily Vaishnava.
Yeah, but one thing is, certainly that is possible in Prabhupada's movement, but one thing that is a problem is the individual initiators. Wherever they come in, they have an allegiance to these initiators. So because there are different, initiators and initiating mood and all this.
No, this could not be part of the structural GBC polluted, initiator polluted ISKCON.
Right.
This would have to be people who only initiator would be Prabhupada.
Exactly. That's what I was getting at. Initiate is Prabhupada.
Yes,
So
yes, sure, of course. Otherwise, it would turn into Sacramento.
yeah, Sacramento. Yeah, everyone's getting banned.
Yeah, everybody at each other's throats instead
Right.
of their hands on their beadbacks, they have their hands on each other's throats.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
So there has to be only one guru. And I put it out in the open that guru for the next 10,000 years, I would check anyone to challenge the idea that guru would not be Prabhupada for the next 10,000 years.
It's only Prabhupada. Jai. I
Yeah.
mean,
Oh, go ahead.
if we follow this example, and if the leaders did that in Sacramento, we would have a thriving Krishna conscious community. But they did not. And they got them initiated by this person, that person. They tried to make a Jai Pataka clan here in Sacramento, but then Radhanath people came in. Then Bir Krishna Maharaj people came in. So now they have a big guru clash. If they were Prabhupada oriented, they would have be like, yes, Prabhupada.
They would have joined hands. They would have danced in ecstasy together.
Yes, Jai.
As disciples of the Acharya for the Kali Yuga.
Jai.
End of Kali Yuga.
Right.
See, Lord Chaitanya is the avatar for the end of Kali Yuga, 500 years ago or so. And Prabhupada is the Acharya for the Kali Yuga.
Jai.
I mean, why not? I mean, who else could do it? Why do we, even if we ended up with 2,000 Uttama Adhikaris, that would reinforce, not diminish, the potential of Prabhupada being the Acharya. Now, I can tell you something factually about Christianity. If you had gone to any of the people that were Jesus' disciples, Diksha, as it were, from Jesus, any of the disciples, and told them this Christianity will be still going on 2,000 years from now, they would look at you like you were crazy. Right?
Yes.
Wouldn't they?
Right.
They would look at you like you're totally crazy. What do you mean 2,000 years? And to emphasize why they would think you were crazy, very simply, they thought the second coming of Jesus would occur in their lifetime. In other words, they assumed that Jesus would return within a few years of his crucifixion, and that he would fulfill all the biblical prophecies of the avatar, or whatever, the savior. But he didn't conspicuously do that. So Christianity has been struggling for 2,000 years, trying to figure out, calculate, predict a date for the second coming of Jesus.
Okay.
So we're ahead of the game because we can say, oh, how long will it be that Prabhupada will be the Acharya? Oh, that's easy. 9,535 more years. Why not?
Mm-hmm.
And that way there will be no confusion. Okay, go ahead. I've talked more than my 2 minutes.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. So you got it. So Shreya Prabhu, are you there? Can you read this? Because you read very wonderfully. Okay, then I'll read. Bhanu Prabhu.
Who did you ask?
Shreya Prabhu.
I can read. I'm sorry. I
No
didn't
problem.
quite
No
hear
problem. Yes.
Okay.
This highlighted part.
The one that on highlight? Okay.
Shreya, sir. Shreya, please accept my obeisances. We've missed you not talking because your talking is always very enlightening.
Okay.
Definitely.
Very encouraging.
I'll read it.
Hare Krishna.
I would volunteer to read it. Anyway.
Okay, go ahead, Prabhu. Go ahead.
Okay. Material nature means descend. What is that? I can't see. Okay.
Material
dissension,
nature means
and
dissension means quarreling.
Okay.
quarreling. Okay.
Dissension means disagreement. Oh, it means the same thing.
Okay. Material nature means dissension and disagreement, especially in this Kali Yuga. But for this Krishna consciousness movement, its success will depend on agreement, even though there are varieties of engagements. In the material world, there are varieties, but there is no agreement. In the spiritual world, there are varieties, but there is agreement. That is the difference. The material without the materialist, without being able to adjust the varieties and the disagreements, makes everything zero. They cannot come into agreement with varieties, but if we keep Krishna in the center, then there will be agreement in varieties. This is called unity in diversity. I am therefore suggesting that all our men meet in Mayapur every year during the birth anniversary of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. With all GBC and senior men present, we should discuss how to make unity in diversity. But if we fight on account of diversity, then it is simply the material platform. Please try to maintain the philosophy of unity in diversity. That will make our movement successful. One section of men have already gone out. Therefore, we must be very careful to maintain unity in diversity. And remember the story in Aesop's fables of the father of many children with the bundle of sticks. When the father asked his children to break the bundle of sticks wrapped in a bag, none of them could do it. But when he removed the sticks from the bag and tried one by one, the sticks were easily broken. So, this is the strength in unity. If we are bunched up, we can never be broken. But when divided, then we can become broken very easily.
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Jai.
Haribol.
Hare
Huh?
Krishna.
Wonderful.
That is powerful. Where did you get that quote?
This is a letter to Kirtanananda Swami, Bombay 18th, October 18th, sorry, Bombay, October 18, 1973.
Really?
We are all diverse, but we must be united.
Yes.
Yes.
Jai.
I also want to say something here.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
In one of the sessions, Naranara and Prabhu told me that Krishna is going to become my inner voice and he's going to talk to me. And keeping that in mind, one of the nights I just went ahead and looked up one of the verses from the Srimad Bhagavatam just to see how I could be in connection with Krishna. I was just asking for some answers. And the verse that I picked up randomly was from Canto 1, Chapter 6, and verse 10. Ronald Prabhu, if you don't mind, can we read just that one verse?
1610? Yes,
Right.
sure.
Yes,
Yes.
go ahead.
1610, right?
Yes, that's correct. 1610.
Okay, let me go to the original books. About views, right? Okay, 1 second. Let me 1610. Let me load it up.
Nikki Jai.
1610, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 6, 610. Okay, 1 second. Let me share the screen. Okay. Okay. 1610. Okay. Yeah, there you go. Is this 1610? Yeah. 16.
Yes. If you can move up a little bit more, the translation and the purpose, especially the purpose. Yeah.
Yes.
So I didn't quite understand when I read the translation. It said, I took this as the special mercy of the Lord, who always desires benediction for his devotees. And so thinking, I started forth the north. And later I just kept thinking, what could it mean? And when I read the purport is when it made all sense. So the purport says, confidential devotees of the Lord see in every step a benedictory direction of the Lord. What is considered to be an odd or difficult moment in the mundane sense is accepted as special mercy of the Lord. Mundane prosperity is a kind of material fever, and by the grace of Lord, the temperature of this material fever is gradually diminished, and the spiritual health is obtained step by step. Mundane people misunderstand it. So that was what I got as a message from God. And I felt today, whatever discussion we are having, I think this is also in connection to what I felt the other day. I
Mm.
just wanted to share it with you all.
Exactly. I agree 100%. It is as though Paramatma were speaking through you,
Jai.
because that was your question was to Paramatma, and the verse gave you, because Krishna exists. We think Krishna is somewhere else. No, Krishna exists everywhere. And if you ask a question nicely the way you did, meaning a sincere question, one that is experimental to see what will happen, and creating an atmosphere of acceptance in your heart for what he says, just see how brilliantly your question and your thoughts were answered.
Jai. So it's saying confidential devotees of the Lord see in every step a benedictory direction of the Lord. Huh? Confidential devotees of the Lord, benedictory direction of the Lord. What is considered to be an odd or difficult moment in the mundane sense is accepted as special mercy of the Lord. So we can see in the life of the Pandavas, at least we see they suffered so much, but at every moment Krishna was directing them either through his pure devotees, either he was directly intervening in their lives. So this is a wonderful thing that only the devotee can understand it, and it's saying that at the end, mundane people misunderstand it. And
Yes.
if you look at the war in the Mahabharata, go ahead.
Monday people are always going according to their own bodily conception of life for thinking and planning and thinking, feeling, and willing from the bodily platform.
Right.
How can they imagine that if you give that up completely, Krishna, and accept Krishna, he will guide you from within with more power than you had when you were making your material plan.
Right.
This story, especially Ronald Prabhu, it talks about Narad Prabhu, who is left with his mother. She is the only, she is everything to him. And there comes a time when even she is taken away from Narad Muni, and that's when he doesn't know how to go about it. So if you read from verses 1 to the one that I read, the 10th verse, it tells you the entire story of Narad Muni. I'm sure you all are familiar, but this was new to me, and it was like surprising.
Wow. Yeah.
So
amazing, huh? So, some people think.
I'd like to say to Shreya, that is exactly what I have been asking to evoke from each and every one of us, is the ability to get past thinking, feeling, and willing as a scholar, as a student, as a neophyte, whatever, and let go of that and just let go and let God. Let go and let Krishna direct you from within. You will not be disappointed. Oh, is it possible to make mistakes? Of course it is. Is it possible to become an illusion? Yes, of course it is. That's why the Madhyamadikari has to be watched by the Guru, even as Paramatma directs him from within, how to become in his Swarup relationship with Krishna. Yes, but we have to be very careful and not get puffed up or take advantage of the situation. The warning is there for the Madhyamadikari. But the process is perfect. There's nothing wrong with the process. Are there risks? Yes. Can you avoid the risks? Yes, easily. You can easily avoid the risks by letting Krishna determine which way you go, not saying, well, Krishna's guiding me, so now I'll go do whatever I please. No. Go whichever way Krishna wants you to go, even if you were thinking, oh, I wouldn't have chosen that myself. And take it up and then just let go of it. It's so much easier and relaxing to be guided by Krishna than it is to try to plan and do everything. Even as a Kinasadakari, you're doing all these good things, but for what purpose? Ultimately, so that Krishna will guide you from within. So my recommendation for our group the League for 10,000 Years of the Golden Age of Kali, let's immediately begin with being guided by Krishna from within. So we can bypass this whole scholarship thing where you have to sit there and ponder like a jnani, you know, have to think too much.
Yeah.
No thinking required. Just
Right.
Shravanam and then Kirtanam, but no thinkanam.
Thinkanam. Bhanu Prabhu, you want to say something, Bhanu Prabhu? Go ahead.
When I was trying to be guided by Krishna, it's like a shut up and sit down and do nothing and just wait for Paramatma's instructions. But when I do that, my mind says it doesn't remain calm. It says, let's do something by sitting there. There's no mellow in just sitting there. You have to do something. It keeps on demanding.
Huh. I don't understand what you're saying. You're saying that when you sit down and then let Paramatma take over, the mind says, let's do something. Is that what you're saying? And Paramatma doesn't actually guide?
For Paramatma to guide us, like make me dance, like puppet in your hands. Step is to, as Narayan Prabhu said, you have to sit down and shut up and do nothing.
So yes, the body, but sit down and shut up means you can be running 100 miles an hour under guidance of Paramatma. You don't have to just sit down in a secluded spot like a yogi. No, you can be totally powerfully acting, but who sits down and shuts up? It's the jiva sits down and shuts up, and Paramatma takes over your body and does whatever he sees needs doing. How do we know what to do? We don't know. We do not know what to do because we're not have the breadth of vision required. How can I know what to do? I mean, like one cell in your body can only act like the cell in your body. He doesn't know what to do for the whole body. The cell doesn't know. He just knows how to participate. But if the human being is then doing something with his full intelligence, all the cells are being directed from within. They're all being directed. That's a very crude example. Human being directing the cells in his body, or the, and making things happen. So similarly, Krishna knows everything. Paramatma is everywhere. He's in the heart of every living entity. And he knows that if we want global Krishna consciousness, he will show us how to attain that. That's what I mean by sitting down and shutting up. Paramatma knows what to do. Does anyone have a doubt?
I was waiting for the instructions of Paramatma to tell me to act through me. But then my mind says, I mean, you're not getting any pleasure doing nothing. Do that, do this. That's what I get.
No, you're not doing nothing. A puppet may be dancing around all over the puppet stage. The puppet is not doing nothing. The puppet can be very...
Before becoming a puppet.
If a man is 90 years old, like there was that man, very old man, that was trying to meditate on jnana and shastra, so when he died, he could become liberated, and he heard noise in the town square. He staggered down there with his walking cane to give them a piece of his mind. How can you make such big noises when I'm trying to study? Don't you have any respect for the fact that I could die at any second, and I need to have the knowledge of Shastra. I need to know the Vedanta so I can become liberated. How dare you make that noise? He came down, and what was in the city square, the town square, was Lord Chaitanya surrounded by the Panchatattva. And there were your territory, Prabhu. He was in your territory. He was in Panchatattva. He was there, and the man raised his cane to give them hell, and he got caught up in the ecstasy of the kirtan of Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda and all of them. And the city and the dwellers of the village were there. say 100 people all together dancing and chanting with tears in their eyes, streaming and tears falling down on the ground and standing up again. All of that, the man was able to see. And he involuntarily got caught up in it. And he began to scream and dance, and tears streamed from his eyes. And he was old and crippled with a cane. He was dancing in ecstasy. You can say that's the point is that's doing nothing. He did nothing. When he did something, he was staggering there to get angry. When he got swept up in the kirtan, then he did nothing. It was all happening through him. The ecstasy was not his. It was the ecstasy of who he was as a jiva, not who he was as a cranky old man looking for liberation. And the joke is he was experiencing real liberation by chanting with Lord Chaitanya, and whereas the liberation he wanted to do was scholarship, like Sridhar Maharaj, and he was sitting there running to ponder the scripture and all that. And so you see, he had reached the conclusion of the scripture by very good fortune. So yeah, that's all I need to say. But do you understand, Banu?
Banu Prabhu is not satisfied with the answer. I can feel it. Banu Prabhu.
Can
Okay.
you relate that to our daily life, or to people we on the group? Like, how do we do that? Can you relate that, what you just said, to our daily life?
He's trying to understand it, how we can relate it to our daily lives or practice it in our daily lives. How to get...
Well, it depends what our daily life is. If our daily life is wherever you go, whomever you meet, simply speak of Krishna, that will be very easy to do that. Krishna will be speaking from within you to wherever you go, whomever you meet. Krishna will be coming out of your mouth in the form of Paramatma's words. But if you're trying to sit down there and do well on your mathematics exam for school, that's different. That you have to sit down and use your material brain. But by this stage, hopefully you already know what you're going to do. You're going to be a Krishna conscious web designer, great. And so you don't need to worry about getting an A in an English class or in a mathematics class. You already have algorithms sprouting out of your ears. You know what to do. So all you now is act, but you don't act. You can say, make me dance. And then watch and see what happens. You come up to someone, and instead of trying to crease your brow and talk to him, well, there is such a thing. I have a soul, and I'll try to talk to you about what it's like to have a soul. No, that will get you exactly nowhere. But if you say, do you have a soul? To a stranger. Oh, yes, I have a soul. Well, I don't have a soul. What? Why don't you have a soul? I am the soul. I have a body. You have already left your body in terms of consciousness. You're being directed by Krishna from within. There's only one person that could tell you that. There's only one person who could make you say those words, and that isn't Mayadevi. It's Krishna from within. Paramatma can make you say those words. Mayadevi will tell you, oh, you're a cute chick. Would you like to go on a date? That's Mayadevi for you. But if you're going to, you get the point, right? Okay, go ahead, Ramachandra. You're on a roll.
No, Bhanu Prabhu is on a roll. Bhanu Prabhu, I think your answer is getting satisfactory, huh? Is it getting?
Not yet. No, of course not yet. Keep going.
Would it be okay if I can say something here?
Please, go ahead.
Of course it is.
Bhanu Prabhu, I would say I'm not very experienced, but then this is how I felt in connection to my real life. There are times when we just think, what do I do now? What do I do now? And we just stuck with not knowing how to proceed. And of late, it has been how it has been for me. So when I kept searching for answers, I reached you all. I mean, that's how it brought me to get connected to all of you. I just shared the meaning of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra in the WhatsApp group, and if you just read those two lines and try to understand what it actually is trying to meditate upon, you would also kind of visualize Srila Prabhupada and the way he surrendered completely to Krishna and how he wants to go ahead with life. So the translation says, "My dear Lord, and the spiritual energy of the Lord, kindly engage me in your service. I am now embarrassed with this material service. Please engage me in your service." So every time I kind of read this translation, I understand that every craving that we have, everything that we're after, it could be as simple as, what do I cook for today? You know, it can be very, very simple stuff. Even that you will get direction. That's what I've realized. Hare Krishna.
Wow. Jai Prabhu, Hare Krishna. That is totally coming from Paramatma, everything you said.
Hare
There's no
Krishna.
question of it.
Jai.
Right? Would you agree?
Jai.
She,
Yeah.
What she is saying, she, in the sense of enlightening people, she can be the guru of everyone she meets.
Yeah. I mean, today,
Not initiator. She can become a real guru by awakening in them the possibility that they too can depend on Krishna.
I mean, she's talking about Paramatma talking to us, but what I was saying is Paramatma acting through us.
he is
Paramatma-
acting. He is acting.
Yeah.
Why not? He is acting.
What did Bhanu say?
Paramatma-
I didn't quite catch Bhanu's train of thought.
Bhanu Prabhu, can you please repeat slowly?
What Shreya Prabhu is saying is Paramatma talking to her.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is make me dance like puppet in your hands. Like Paramatma is taking over you, and every action he's performing, he's only making you an instrument.
Well, you're part and parcel of Paramatma, you know.
But it's
It's not that Paramatma takes over and you might as well be dead. Are you not part and parcel of Krishna?
Free will. Yeah. Cooperate
If you're
on.
part and parcel, yeah. So if you're part and parcel of Krishna, Paramatma is Krishna. So you're part and parcel of Paramatma. So when Paramatma speaks, you are speaking minutely as part and parcel of Paramatma.
That's what I was saying. Yes.
Yes.
You explained.
And Shreya's realization is excellent.
Jai.
It's right on target, the right thing. That's the truth. That's the process that if anyone were to guide this group of the Shreya's approach, is the approach I recommend.
Honestly, I have come to believe every time I'm in doubt, I need to go back to Srila Prabhupada ji's videos and read it in the way that as if you have written it, and he has written it exactly how each one of us are struggling in life. Wherever it is, he's talking just like how we talk, and wherever he's talking the voice of Lord, that is exactly the answers we are looking for. So I completely have given up on the materialistic world. In fact, there are times when, like Naranaran Prabhu saying, the Maya Devi does tap on us just to test us out of temptation. And every time I'm consciously making an effort to chant the Hare Krishna mantra when this happens, which kind of removes the delusion from that very particular incident and moment in life. Bhanu Prabhu, I have been through what you've been, and I strongly can, feel what kind of irritation that you are facing when you ask those questions. And I know you're very, very close. Don't lose hope. You will get there. That is a very strong feeling I have for you.
Wow.
Jai.
That's amazing, truly amazing. So we also must be able to talk as though Paramatma will guide our words, not our thinking, feeling, and willing from our material karmic experiences of previous lives. Because everything, Prabhupada mentioned that in somewhere, I think in the passage that I emailed to you, the Prabhupada is saying that not only you are guided by the activities of your present life, sometimes as a devotee progressing as a Kanasadakari, you will be assaulted by elements and thoughts and feelings from a previous life. But the answer is always the same. Surrender to Krishna, chant Hare Krishna. If you read all these instructions of how to be a devotee, it can sound very rigid and very limiting. But the actual fact is, it's the opposite of limiting. You know?
That's very liberating. Yeah.
Yes. And another thing, Naranayan Prabhuji, I would definitely say this. Every time I've spoken to you, although at that very instance it does not maybe kind of give me direction or answers, it has always helped me at a later point in time. It may not be immediately. So I'm only saying, if you clearly listen, and it's like we're all playing a drama, you wear the role of an actor and you try to
Yes.
imitate that, and it's a very similar thing, but here we just have to leave the conscious body and see ourselves as one in the Lord himself. And it's like this. I mean, my son would not even think twice when he has to step out into the world, because he completely trusts me that I will take care of him. And if we can give that kind of trust to Lord Krishna and pass all the tests he conducts on
Right.
us, it's just the test that he's giving. I have been tested in ways that I can't explain, but I know these are just tests. Everybody questions integrity.
Yeah.
Everybody questions all sorts of your way of life. It can get worse. It can be the worst situations that you will be henceforth seeing. If you are going through that, then trust me, God is actually holding your hand, and he wants to know how much do you trust him. Just give
Yes.
up everything and
And when you
believe
say
that
God,
he will take you.
let's say Paramatma, because he's the part of God that is willing to spend time with us at all times.
Right.
I mean, Krishna's Govinda doesn't spend time with people like us. He spends time with people like cowherd boys, Mother Yasoda, and gopis. That's what he does. And we can join him, but he will not join us. Why? It's Rasabasa, it's boring that we do. Our lives are boring for Krishna. But Paramatma, we can engage with Paramatma, and he will give us every clue, as he's giving to you, Shreya Prabhu. He will give us every clue how to click out of the humdrum material mentality into the realm of transcendental reality and possibility, so that we can talk to people. They will walk away after talking with us. They're not talking to us, they're talking to Paramatma, who's in their heart as well. So some karmi munching on a hamburger, he talks to you. If you click into, make his consciousness awaken, not because you're trying to awaken it, but because that's what you do. You're just expressing yourself as a devotee rather than expressing yourself as a human being of this family, this country, whatever. You're talking as spirit soul. That person will be clicked and affected by what is said by Paramatma speaking through you, and you accepting what Paramatma says, and you speaking Paramatma's view as he says it, not in some other way. And then that other person eating this hamburger will be triggered to eventually surrender to Krishna. That is guaranteed. Because now he knows what to do. And eventually, this lifetime or another lifetime, he'll put down his hamburger, he'll put this down, he'll put that down, he'll put everything down, and begin to have both hands empty, he'll dance in ecstasy. And
So
is that okay?
what I was referring to is not about the time we were spending devotionally, not about the time we were spending to spiritual activities, about the non-devotional time, how to take up all the throughout the day, how to let Paramatma take over us like a puppet.
Wait, did you say non-devotional time?
Yeah. I mean,
What
100%.
non-devotional time? I mean, do you think devotees take a
Basically,
vacation
I'm
from
thinking-
spiritual life?
Yeah, I'm doing every second we are not involved. I'm saying it's like every second has to be devotional.
Wow. Yeah, of course. I mean, which part? Remember,
It has
devotional
to-
means spirit, soul, jivatma, right? If you're the jiva, then what vacation do you want from being a jiva and want to become a body? Why do you want to choose body over jiva? Sat over asat instead of sat? You're saying, well, I'm tired. Now I've done my job as sat with Paramatma there. Thank you, Paramatma. Now I'm going to back to asat because I have to do some practical things.
Huh.
Well, that's not how it works.
Hmm.
Yeah. I'm not,
Well,
there
what
is
happens is,
Everything Prabhupada did was spiritual, even the practical, ordinary things.
no, you're not comparing with Prabhupada, you're comparing with ourselves.
I think
Balaprabhu,
I think
I
you
would-
should
I-
go ahead. Go ahead.
no, go ahead, Ronald.
No problem. Go ahead, Shreya. Then I'll speak.
I just wanted to say, this is how even I kept thinking. So we have the puja room, the temple room at home. So we go there, we clean it up, we do our offerings, we burn incense, we light the lamp, we do the shloka chanting. It could be any shloka for the demigods, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And then once we're out, we're like, okay, yes, I did my part for today. No, that is not the way the devotional life is. It is
Jai.
you might be typing something work related, you might be cooking, you might be teaching your kid, but in your mind it is just like how breathing happens. It is a very involuntary thing. That is exactly how we need to keep chanting the Maha Mantra, which means
Yes.
you may not be consciously, voluntarily, and being aware of the Maha Mantra are you chanting, but then this has to become something just like how you breathe. So
Yes.
as you type, if in your head you can hear the kirtan, if you can hear the bhajans, if you can hear something running, it's not that our mind cannot handle it. It is
Yes.
possible. It's,
Yeah, we all do that. Yes. But
that.
what I'm talking of is taking up to the next level.
Correct.
The next
And
step.
for that, you have to chant, Prabhuji. That was the answer that was given to me. And I strongly believe through chanting, without your knowledge, you're going to go there.
See,
You got to do more and more rounds of chanting.
if I got Shraya's words accurately, that chanting is not something to do to get something else. Chanting is the means of getting through the day as a part and parcel of Krishna Jiva, as opposed to just thinking in terms of your present material birth. So if she wants to get through her day, chanting means it's like a blind man with a cane with a red tip on it uses it to find his way. So we use the chanting to find our way through the morass of this material world without touching matter. Is that close, Shreya, to what you were suggesting?
Yes, Prabhuji. For example, Banu Prabhu, if you've heard some a particular song that it's just very close to your heart, even when you're in your most toughest times, it still rings in your head, right? That happens, right, to all of us. You've heard something very nice, and you just keep humming on it. That's exactly how the chanting also happens. I think Ronald Prabhu wanted to say something. I interrupted.
You
I'm
can read
sorry.
it right here, Shreya Prabhu.
Okay. We work not with our body. Actually, we work with, I'm sorry, we work not with our body, actually, but with our mind and intelligence. So if the intelligence and the mind are always engaged in the thought of the Supreme Lord, then naturally the senses are also engaged in his service. Superficially, at least, the activities of the senses remain the same, but the consciousness is changed. The Bhagavad Gita teaches one how to absorb the mind and intelligence in the thought of the Lord. Such absorption will enable one to transfer himself to the kingdom of the Lord. If the mind is engaged in Krishna's service, then the senses are automatically engaged in his service. This is the art, and this is also the secret of Bhagavad Gita, total absorption in the thought of Sri Krishna.
So, Bhanu, I think you got the answer, right?
Yeah,
I'm only saying you just have to get this.
the remembrance of Krishna. It's not the same as the time we are taking for chanting Hare Krishna mantra. So like in
Constantly.
1 minute, we may be thinking like about 40 seconds, maybe 30 seconds. It's not the same, what do you say, intensity.
Yeah, that's
So
fine, but
to get to the intensity of doing it, I mean, just as the intensity of chanting, with same intensity, we remember Krishna throughout the day. That's what I was talking about.
yeah, well, the mind, you have to see, you know, like it can focus on Krishna or material things. And when you think about material things, you can understand that, oh, yeah, the mind is deviating. So let me bring it back. That is how you do it. So if the mind is going somewhere else, you have to pull it back. You know, that's how Prabhupada answers that question. When we chant, the mind goes elsewhere. When you notice the mind is going elsewhere, then you be like, oh, then we bring it back to the sound vibration. So similarly in our lives,
Yeah.
our daily activity, we should focus. Okay, yes, I'm doing this activity. Okay, yeah, this activity I'm doing is for the material body. Okay, yeah, you know, prasadam, this, that. So you have to discriminate. And then when this starts, like today, I was thinking about going to a restaurant and eating because I was like, oh no, I will not do this. I'll go home, cook something, then, you know, then eat. So it's it's all the mind's play. You know, you have to control the mind. You know.
It is how
Well,
quickly you
you
become
know,
conscious to switch your mind from thinking that chanting is a devotional activity and getting connected to Krishna is another thing. No, chanting or not chanting, you are connected to Krishna.
Yeah.
Chanting is a direct way that you're saying, I am listening, I am thinking, I'm all involved in your activity. But without chanting, also you need to keep yourself engaged in Lord
Jai.
Krishna.
That's
mean,
it.
yes.
The
Bhagavad
difference is
Gita,
when you're
Bhagavad
And there's
chanting, you are exclusively dedicating your time for Krishna. And when you're doing some other things and also remembering Krishna, you are not giving your entire time for Krishna, but you're utilizing time. You're doing other things also, but also giving time for Krishna. But when you're chanting, you're giving
Yes.
that exclusive time to
correct.
Krishna, entire
Yes.
time.
Banu. Chanting is chanting. Activity with your body and your mind in doing what most people would perceive to be ordinary tasks, for a devotee, all of those things you're doing is three-dimensional chanting. You chant on your beads meditatively, you go and you walk down the street, that's three-dimensional chanting. Because for the devotee, there's no difference between chanting, walking, cooking, dressing, bathing, driving a car. It's all transcendental.
But
God.
On the same,
that comes under the inattentive chanting. So
and I think
that is
Shreya
also
was-
that also is worthy, very very good. But Prabhupada said chant 16 rounds and you can work in the factory, also keep chanting. You can drive the car, keep chanting. That is additional.
You can chant, but if you become directly serving Krishna, or put it more accurately, if you surrender to Paramatma and he drives your car, and not you, if you're working in your yard and Paramatma's working in your yard, not you, then you'll see that everything you do is connected to Krishna directly, not indirectly. In other words, your activity is an expression of Krishna's desire, thought, feeling, willing from the Krishna side, not from the bodily side.
So that was my question. How do I let Paramatma take over?
You have to ask him.
I asked him
First,
15 times. I really asked him 15 times.
Okay, the first thing you need to do if you want that to happen, and I sense that you do want that to happen, it's the first thing you need to do is to want him to take over. If you don't want him to take over, you can argue forever.
Yeah.
But if you want him to take over, he will take over the minute he senses that you really do want him to take over.
It's like
But it has to
Draupadi.
be
You got to
has to
become
be
like
sincere.
Draupadi.
Yeah. Yeah,
You just had the
exactly.
answer, Ronald Prabhu, in your
Draupadi,
screen
how is
share.
Draupadi coming in the picture?
Well, that's how
Krishna
to do
asked
it.
for Krishna asked for her. Draupadi asked for Krishna's help, and Krishna helped it. Now,
Yes,
how
so you
did
have to
Draupadi
ask.
come in?
And then you have to surrender also. Not ask and not surrender.
Well, that's the
That is-
point.
Yeah.
That is surrendering. Asking
Yes.
is surrendering.
No, you can ask, but then you gotta let go.
Surrendering
Honestly-
isn't asking.
Honestly,
Surrendering is asking.
Go ahead.
What's going on here?
the part
Keep
about
trying.
surrendering is very, very difficult.
Offer space around Shreya because she needs to keep the sanctity of her thoughts as sacred and not just back and forth for us, you know.
Go
She's
ahead.
very she's got the right idea. No, don't stray from it into the realm of thought because you're doing great.
Prabhuji, I would definitely want Ronald Prabhuji to share again. You just had the verse there. It was talking about the Sankirtan and the Shravanam. So the more you listen, the more you chant. That is how you will be able to surrender. Surrendering is just a very simple act according to us because we think that, okay, God, I'm surrendering to you. Okay, God, I'm surrendering to you. That is not surrendering. We are just verbally saying, I am ready to surrender. But then when you imagine a situation, maybe you lose a job, maybe your family quits on you, maybe you have nothing to look forward to, and that is when you realize when you can't do anything,
When
that
you're
the
not in
material
control.
nature,
When you're
yes,
not in
you
control.
just don't have any control. You just don't have any control over anything. And
Right.
that is when you really realize the purpose of being born as human, because that's when we look up and say, huh, is this what you really want me to do? And that's when he will tell you what you really have to do.
Joy.
Exactly. Perfect conclusion. Excellent conclusion. Because everybody wants to use God to achieve their material goals.
Joy.
Our advice of you is to identify as the Sat, Jiva, Aham Brahmasmi. I am the soul. Once I am the soul, I don't have to satisfy anything else except Krishna. So when I act as the soul, even in the body, doing the talking, not the body doing the talking, then when I speak as the soul from the body, then we are accomplishing the mission of Lord Chaitanya, which is wherever you go, whomever you meet, simply speak of Krishna.
Joy.
And now speaking of Krishna, you can speak outwardly, Krishna, Krishna outwardly, or you can act in such a way and speak in such a way that the assumption is this is for Krishna.
God
We
bless
assume,
you.
yes. So this is Krishna's, this is how we can spread Krishna consciousness by giving an answer to an ordinary question from the spiritual point of view. Not as a preaching thing, but simply because that's our nature. We are spiritual by nature. All we have to do is answer our ordinary question as according to our own nature, and that I can answer according to my physical nature or my spiritual nature. So why not from the spiritual nature? Then it will be more perfect.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
And
Joy.
yes, I want to add one more thing here. Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, 25, the 25th verse. If you read through that, it says that I am the vibrations of, let me just read that here. Of the great sages, I am Brigu. Of vibrations, I am the transcendental Om. Of sacrifices, I am the chanting of the holy names, Japa. And of immovable things, I am the Himalayas. So when we are chanting, we just think I'm doing something for the God or for Krishna, or we just keep thinking it as an outside activity, something disconnected from the real essence of being in Krishna consciousness. But honestly, if we start realizing that whenever you're saying Hare Krishna, you're actually connected, and you start feeling the vibrations. It is not something like, you're holding your phone and it starts vibrating, you feel that vibration. It's not like that. The way you stay connected to Lord Krishna is just that you can't give up on it. you just want to keep more, you keep getting more and more of it, and it never ends. That thirst
Yeah.
for hearing about Lord Krishna, the thirst about giving up on the material nature of the world and all our sense gratifications. This is a never-ending journey in the form of a human being. That's what I've understood. And so I
Exactly.
will,
Thank you.
I will.
That's excellent. May I respond really quickly to what you just said?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes, Prabhu.
Why shouldn't the enlightened Jiva, who's chanting Hare Krishna, who is beginning or actually understanding that he is part and parcel of Krishna as the Jiva, why should he not express himself, since everyone else is expressing themselves as though they were their bodies? We don't have to talk like a body. We don't have to, but everything we do that we talk through our body as jivas, we can talk from this transcendental platform. Why would we have to talk only from the grubby material platform? Is that in essence of what you were saying, in a sense? Shreya Prabhu.
I didn't quite understand, Prabhuji. If you don't mind, can you elaborate?
Oh, well, all I wanted to say was that the jiva who does not identify with the body, but identifies as spirit soul, that the body is respected. The winds of heaven pass between the sat jiva and the asat body. There is a peaceful relationship between the body and the jiva, that we're not fighting the body. And yet the jiva, why cannot the jiva express himself 100% as a jiva? Why do we think only the body can express itself, and that when we become a jiva, we have to give all that expression up? Well, we stop talking about bodily needs as a jiva, or if we talk about bodily needs, we see it from the jiva point of view, not the body point of view. You see?
Jiva is
So you're in a
marginal.
position of control and strength when you're Krishna conscious. Anyhow, you said you have to leave, so God bless you.
No, Prabhuji, I'm here. I'll be here.
No, Prabhu, you misheard, or Krishna put something in your ear.
What?
Nothing.
What?
I wasn't saying I'm leaving. I was just not very attentive to what you were saying. I was just a little distracted. To quite hear you is what I was saying the other time. Yeah.
Anyhow, I just want to thank you for your sincerity. Sincerity is more important than being praised or having fame or being recognized. I'm offering you acknowledgement, and I hope you don't take it the wrong way.
No, I'm not, Prabhuji. You in fact enlightened me, because I kept thinking
continuously be, yeah.
You told me the other day that when you asked us to speak up, I said I'm still not yet there. I still need to do a lot of reading and understanding. But then what I kind of understood when I got the verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam 1:6-10, I understood that no matter how much I read is not going to help if I don't put myself through this experience by living in Krishna consciousness. So
Yes.
that's how I realized.
Yes.
All right. So
we're all in the same process of transitioning from believing in Krishna consciousness towards observing material energy as Krishna conscious. We want to be Krishna conscious, observing the material energy, not materially bewildered beings trying to understand Krishna consciousness.
Okay, this is very important, or maybe this is 2-hour conversation that we were having. Srila Prabhupada comments in a very early lecture, November 23rd, 1966, New York. We have already discussed there are 2 kinds of energies of Krishna. One is spiritual energy and one is material energy. Jiva, the living entities, they are also spiritual energies, but because they are sometimes entrapped by this material energy, they have got the potency. So they are prone to be attracted by the material energy. Therefore, they are called marginal energy. So, Bhanu Prabhu, this answers your question, because we are marginal energies. Sometimes we get attracted to this inferior matter or inferior thoughts, un-Krishna conscious thoughts. But we should realize that, oh yeah, the mind is going elsewhere. So, I'm not this mind. Let me focus it, or let me bring it back to that point that, I'm servant of Krishna. I should be engaged in Krishna's service, thinking about him like this.
Right.
Jai.
Ramachandra, the next sentence is also very good for that realization.
Alrighty. We're back.
No, the one that wasn't with red, the one below the red.
Okay, let me share that one more time. Okay.
Oh, did you read it?
No. Otherwise, there are two energies only: spiritual energy and material energy. This material world is material energy, and we, the sparks of Krishna, we are spiritual energy. So this energy, just like the fire, just like the lamp, it is localized in one place, but its light and its heat is diffused. So there you go. I think that should answer a lot of questions of how we get attracted to. Go ahead, Narayan Prabhu. Please elaborate if you have.
No, nothing to elaborate. I was saying what we're searching for is identity. We want to know, who am I?
Right.
And if I think, who am I look in the mirror, so I'm this guy that's going to die in some years. Or I can look, otherwise, who am I is the whole question of Krishna consciousness. Aham Brahmasmi. I'm part of Krishna.
Right.
How do I live in that knowledge? That is self-realization. It's not self-realization. It's not some fancy thing for people to do in their spare time. Self-realization is, who am I?
Right.
And how do I exist as who I am rather than who I am not? That which is not. Why should I be that which is not?
We got to give some time to Amiyo Prabhu. Amiyo Prabhu, you've been very kindly listening. Do you have any questions, any realizations you want to share?
1 second.
Sorry, Bhanu Prabhuji is what he is actually asking, that throughout the day he want to be guided by the Paramatma. Is that right, Bhanu Prabhuji?
Yeah.
Throughout the day. So to guided by the Paramatma, we have to become pure.
Not guided by the Paramatma. Paramatma becoming an instrument in the hands of Paramatma.
Taking control of you. Naturally, it can come to you. So that to happen, we have to first become eligible for that. Just like to get an IIT, to get to an IIT, we have to eligible for that. So to take over by the Paramatma will guide us. After when we,
it's like Prabhupada, Jaladuta, you said, make me dance like a puppet in your hands.
Yes, means ki
Narayana Prabhu was discussing about it. Like even a neophyte can also let Paramatma take over and let Paramatma act through him. And
it's already acting. Paramatma is already acting, but you don't realize it. How do you wake up? Do you remember you wake up? Who reminds you to wake up? It's not you. You wake up. Who wakes you up? You automatically wake up. Huh?
Yeah.
Who?
yeah,
How?
that I'm talking about 10% of the life. 24 hours.
Well, you have to develop that. Prabhupada answers that, the mind and senses. So you have to mold your life in such a way that you can remember Krishna every time, all the time. Or you can call me.
That we're doing to the best of what we can do, but we cannot phrase it as that we're doing it 24 hours. We don't say every hour I'm doing it.
But you can realize you're not doing it. Can you realize you're not doing it?
Yeah.
Then you do it.
Yes.
Exactly. We think we are the doer, but actually we have no power to be the doer, because take away Paramatma from the doer
We'll
nothing
be
happens.
sleeping forever.
It's only the presence of Paramatma that makes it possible for us to do anything.
Amiyo Prabhu was saying to get qualified in IIT. So the qualification is human birth. The moment you're born, you have a conscious,
No,
which is
I am saying that to guided by the Paramatma consciously to take over the Paramatma in every bit of life, that we have to first purify ourselves. The purificative processes is
I'll tell you one example here.
I
To
mean,
be
surrender.
taken
You
by-
surrender. So once you're surrendered, Paramatma takes
yes,
you over.
yes.
Well,
Okay,
Prabhu,
there's this one thing I want to tell you.
And
If you stay hungry for, let's say, more than what you can actually handle, what are you going to be thinking about?
What?
Food.
Let's say for
Food.
2 hours.
Yes.
Yes, food. So if you start craving for Lord Krishna, when you start increasing your interest in Lord Krishna, when you start thinking that I want more, I want to know
Right.
more, I want this, I don't want sandwich, I want biryani. When you start thinking like that, that is when you will start also surrendering without your knowledge. Bhanu Prabhu, these are phases. These are phases that we all pass through, and when we start getting there, I'm not a perfectionist. There, I still have a long way to go. I know, but this is from experience. I'm saying I would not open my mouth without experience. You will experience this when your craving increases. I think Ronald Prabhu shared a few screenshots earlier in the earlier meetings where he was talking about increasing the interest in being Krishna conscious. So when that happens, you will automatically surrender. You're already qualified to be, accepted by Krishna. Rather, what we don't realize is we are already accepted. That's why we are in human birth. The more we understand that, that is when it will be. If I go on explaining about the taste of sugar, it's not going to be an experiential feeling, right? I can say it is sweet, it tastes like this, it tastes like that. But rather, if I take a spoon of sugar grains and put it in your mouth and say, now tell me how it feels, you're going to experience it's exactly like that. So no matter how much one might say what others could direct you, when you start chanting, if your mind is getting deviated, even just for 1 second, consciously make an effort and say, enough, stop it, don't play with me. I want to think of Lord Krishna. Put a photo of him, put a picture on your mobile, do something that will bring you in contact with your eyes to see Lord Krishna, and you chant, you meditate upon it. And if you feel that you're 50% attentive, become 75, become 80, become 90, become 100. Every minute that you put 100% effort in it, you will become much more better, and you will realize this. We wouldn't have much questions. And it is also said about the Hare Krishna Mahamantra in, I think it's a Kali
yes,
Upanishad,
what
Kali
you're saying is
Santana
right. I
Upanishad.
would agree with you all that you're saying. But we also need to look at it as a discussable philosophical point of view.
It
Rather
is.
than-
That's why we're discussing. That's. I mean, several people have the same realization, so that's discussable.
When you understand a drop of water is equivalent to what is in the ocean, you would not be discussing because you know what water is. All of these things that we want to understand logically, intellectually, that'll get dissolved. And when you start, do you feel air around you? You know that air exists, but do you feel it? How consciously are you feeling it? So when
No,
every
we
time
don't
you
go to the emotional point of practicing Vaidhi Bhakti. So you don't get to the emotional, I have so much love for Krishna, I'm feeling Krishna. So it comes very naturally to me. I mean, you don't.
No, it does come naturally,
do that.
Prabhu.
it is not
It
an
comes
emotional
Just come,
naturally.
but
It comes
you don't
naturally.
exhibit it as such way.
Why are you saying it's not coming naturally? It
It
should
does come.
naturally.
I mean,
Huh?
Prabhuji,
come.
are you taking? Are you?
But in the
Yeah,
practicing
Are you
mode,
you were
taking
talking.
prasadam? Are you taking prasadam?
It's okay to take
Swami.
personally because that's when he will also get answers. This is a personal question. All of us are discussing, but yet everyone has a different route to reach the same destiny. So let's take our roads, no problem. Let's help each other, no problem. Please take it personally because it has to. You have to understand it personally at a personal note, no problem. You have to fight back. You have to question. You have to ask more. That's when we will also get answers.
And Krishna, Paramatma, will guide you from within.
Right.
Krishna will guide you from within. When I was building the altar in New York in 1968, I was in Los Angeles at the temple. I wanted Prabhupada, they wanted to send me to New York to build an altar for Krishna there in the new building, in a building we were remodeling, I remodeled, and they asked, I kept wanting to say to Prabhupada, I was hoping I could go there with a drawing done by Prabhupada of how to make the altar. And I kept hinting, and Prabhupada kept on not answering my request, I finally said, but I became sort of like a bit almost impatient, and I said to Prabhupada, but Srila Prabhupada, if I don't have a drawing, how will I know how to design the altar? If you don't make a drawing, how will I know how to design the altar? And Prabhupada sat back and gazed at me and said, Krishna will direct you from within. So and when I got to New York, I was carrying my toolboxes up the stairs, and Brahmananda, who was the big guy, big in every respect of the word, he was up there, and he would grab my boxes. He was so huge and strong. He picked them all. I was struggling. He would pick them up and was going up the stairs with them. And then he turned and looked over his shoulder and smiled and said, did Srila Prabhupada give you a drawing of how to make the altar? Because, we're all waiting for this transcendental, straight from Krishna Loka design for how to make the altar. And I said, no, Brahmananda, he didn't. And then Brahmananda looks at me concerned and said, well, how will you know how to make the altar then, if Prabhupada didn't give you the drawing? And I said, blurting out as I usually do, he said, Krishna will direct me from within. Brahmananda's face turned from a big smile, huge guy, huge smile, big, heavy, not muscle and fat together. Big smile turned into a, like that, astonished and horrified look on his face. He let go of my very steep steps. He let go of my toolboxes and then went bump, 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 bump down to the bottom again.
Right.
And he went storming up the stairs, and he got on the phone with a New York accent. Said, Tamal, why didn't you send me this nutcase? Who is this guy who started? I need some nutcase. Why did you send him? So what do you mean? He said, Krishna will direct him from, Prabhupada said, Krishna will direct him from within. And then I didn't hear what Tamal was telling him, Tamal Krishna, but I could hear Brahmananda. And Brahmananda, he said, Krishna will direct him from within. Prabhupada said, Krishna will direct him from within. Then Brahmananda said, he did? He really did? No mistake? He said that? And so I was trying to drag the boxes up the stairs, much weaker. I was a pretty strong guy in those days. I was only in my 20s, 24 years old, almost 25. So I was pretty muscly, but he was gigantic. So he had a lot of shakti also. And so he looked down at me and he said, yes, Tamal said, Prabhupada did say Krishna will direct you from within. Here I am. I can't even gesture because I'm carrying toolbox. I didn't want to go bump, bump, bump down to the bottom again. So I just sort of grinned, this sort of, well, I told you so, sort of grinned, The difference was he didn't come down and help me carry the boxes. He just turned around and walked up the stairs. So I had to keep on dragging them up myself. Anyhow,
Jai.
I just said that Krishna will direct you from within to substantiate Shraya's view, what she's saying, and what we're all saying, and Ramachandra is saying, and everybody's saying, that the whole idea is for Krishna to direct you from within. That's Paramatma. Krishna is in your heart. He will direct you from within.
Jai.
You don't have to conflict between my material activity and my spiritual activity.
Right.
If I may not be so spiritual that every material act I do is a spiritual act. No, far from it. But if I am being guided by Krishna from within, like psychically, if you will, spiritually, psychically, he will show me what to do. How do I know that he's guiding me? I have to surrender, don't I? I have to let go of my false ego. I have to let go of, well, Krishna said, Prabhupada said, Krishna will guide me from within. Therefore, anything I do is Krishna guiding me from within. Whatever I think is Krishna guiding me. Whatever I think is the right thing to do, Krishna is guiding me. That is complete and utter Maya. What do you do? Not that you're saying now everything I do, Krishna's guiding. No, you have to let go of I have to let go of my thinking, feeling, and willing. And saying, I have to build this altar. And I don't ask Krishna, I don't ask the wall, I don't ask my hammer. I just ask the question into the air. What should I do? And then I wait to be guided. I mean, if I say, what should I do? And then do what I feel like, that's not the same thing. I do ask, what should I do? And I wait, like a person out in the woods, hoping he'll hear a voice in the distance or something of that sort, telling him, go this way, you know? And so I came up there, the whole place was beautifully designed with maple and black walnut, not even available in the marketplace.
I have a suggestion.
Yes.
I mean, if we get a temple in Sacramento, can you design a Lord Jagannath Baladev Subhadra?
Can I what?
Can you design, or can you make it just like you made it back then?
Identical?
Identical, or Krishna will guide you?
Yeah, that's the point. Krishna will guide you. The trick is you have to allow Krishna to guide you. You can't say whatever I do is Krishna guiding me. I have to say I need guidance, and that's what happened to me in New York. The whole place was beautiful wood, and they tore up the area that had been. It's a haberdasher place. It was very around the turn of the century, 1900 or so, maybe 1915 or 20. And it was so beautifully constructed for people buying extremely expensive tuxedos. And then they left the business no more. And they tore out one end of the room. So I was desperate because I needed that same wood. I couldn't figure out how will I build the altar unless I have that same type of extremely beautiful wood that no longer exists. You can't buy it. You can't buy the wood. You can't buy the panels. This is from a previous era, you know? And so it was like 68 years before me. And so I got depressed. And what do you do when you're depressed? I went down into the basement and sat. Everything in New York was covered with dust, you know, because of the smog and whatnot. So I sat down on something that was sticking out, and I sat down on it to put my head in my hands and groan and miserably wonder what should I do next to get the materials to build this altar. And then I realized I was wearing my saffron cloth. I was a brahmachari, and I'm getting completely covered with this nasty dust. So I got up, dusted myself off, and I dusted off where I was sitting on. What I was sitting on was perfect panels that in the same exact style as the ones upstairs. Somehow they'd torn out the wall and put the pieces downstairs. And I was depressed. And I went down there and I sat on them. You see. So I saw, this is amazing. So I began to clean them up and brought them upstairs. And I was able to use them. They happened, by some coincidence, to be the same height as I made steps on the altar going up stairs, like a staircase. Each one, I put that wood underneath marble. I wanted to put it underneath marble, but put the wood. I didn't have any marble. And I asked Ramananda, how much is this whole thing going to cost? How much can you spare? He said, how about $50? I said, oh, please. But I couldn't ask for more. So I was in a state of, again, deep depression. Krishna guided me to find the wood, right? I mean, that's an obvious fact. And then I put the wood together with, regular wood underneath it to hold it up. But I needed marble for the steps, for the layers, for the deities, real marble, and I couldn't get any. So I went out on the porch and I was totally depressed again. And I put my elbows on the porch and I realized that the porch, it was a balcony and the edge of the balcony was like at least a foot wide. And I put my elbows on it because I was so depressed with my head in my hands, wondering what to do next. Then I thought, oh my God, I've done it. I've gotten ashes and whatever all over my elbows from the furnaces that they burn coal. I've got myself so dirty. So I dusted it off and then I said, well, I better dust off this balcony so that and people won't put their elbows on it and get dirty. So I dusted it off. What did I find there?
What happened?
A stack of about 6 slabs of marble. Marble. I went out there because I had no marble. My elbows on it. Marble. So I took the marble off and I cleaned it up. I washed it. It was sort of stained, so I ground it a bit. It was not shiny. So I put a good synthetic varnish on it and it came up looking like brand new, very expensive marble. And I put it up as the steps going up on top of the panels that came from the basement.
Right.
So that was what Krishna directing from me, from within was like. If I'd swaggered around saying everything I do is Krishna directing me, I wouldn't have accomplished anything. No money, no materials. End of story.
Right.
But Krishna did direct me from within because he showed me where the wood was and showed me where the marble was by getting my butt dirty by sitting on the wood and then my elbows dirty by leaning on the balcony. So it's a big elaborate, but I'm saying our job is to have Krishna direct us from within. Shreya was making that point in a different way, but an excellent, equal or better way. But she was actually showing how to do it, and that we can do, but not following Shreya, following Paramatma yourself in your own heart. Krishna will direct you from within. Why do you have to copy somebody else? You don't have to go to a Kanista initiator and say, oh, master, tell me what to do. No. You say, oh, master, tell me what to do, but not to the Kanista initiator. You say, oh, master, tell me what to do, asking Krishna, Paramatma, master, tell me what to do.
The Kanishta will say, give me all your money.
Yeah. I'm saying that's funny. I once going to build this altar. I came to ask you for money. You said
give it
$50. You said $50. I can't believe it.
I mean, even if they're not talking about money, the only thing they'll say is more practice, which you already know, and then they're not gonna make you feel satisfied. Whatever.
May I say something? No, it's not practice. Not practice. It is direct. As Lord Chaitanya says,
direct realization of the self.
Direct perception of the self by realization. It's direct. You don't have to practice. You just do it. Why?
I'm saying,
you don't do it. You surrender to Paramatma, Paramatma doesn't practice, right? Paramatma doesn't practice. Paramatma does things. So if you surrender to Paramatma, things will happen because he makes them happen. No practicing required.
Yes.
Practicing is for materialists.
Somebody to initiate for us. If we ask somebody to initiate us into the process, they're going to only say practice and practice because they don't know what else to do. They're just going to wear this mask of being the visionary, being definitely in a different level altogether. They have the way to present themselves to be an authority, but in fact, in reality, they don't have anything. At least that is my experience after talking to so many different kinds of gurus. I feel they only keep asking you to do more of what you can't, just to make you feel satisfied. But I found
Right.
that Prabhupada made it very easy for us. Chant, make yourself relax in the chant, try to be attentive while you chant, and otherwise that you're in Krishna consciousness. Let all your activities be directed in the name of Krishna and ask him to make you, dance, dance, dance. And that's it.
And then depend on Krishna. And when you say depend on Krishna, make me dance like a puppet in your hands. When you say make me dance, then Paramatma will act as though it were you. And as a result, the outcome will be good as long as you're not kidding yourself. As long as you're really surrendered to Paramatma, he will guide you from within. There's no question of it. Why would
I feel like we keep saying make me dance. We don't want to really become puppets in hands of somebody. That's how much we believe in ourselves. And that is why we have all these questions. But the moment you completely are believing that you're a puppet in somebody's hands, which happens through a situation in life where you don't have control over things. When you come to that stage, you really know it. I can talk about how fast a train is moving, but when I put you inside the train, you feel it. You cannot understand the feeling by just hearing it when I explain it. So the only way to know this is through experience, and that experience will happen in time. The only thing we can do right now is ask.
But by surrender, we will not experience. When we surrender to Krishna, namely Paramatma, he will do things through us. And then we will see our own spiritual nature has been involved.
Okay, I have a question now. Is Paramatma considered impersonal aspect of God to some degree?
Who's asking?
Me.
Oh. No, of course he's not. He's a person.
No, but in that form, I mean, we can say the Brahma Jyoti is Krishna too.
No. The Brahmajyoti doesn't have 4 arms.
Acha.
And the Brahmajyoti isn't blue. Paramatma is Vishnu.
Okay.
Everything about Vishnu, anything you think about Vishnu, that is Paramatma and more. Paramatma is expanded unlimitedly into every atom, into the heart of every jiva. Even we think about ourselves because we're humans and we want to think about ourselves. We have human bodies, I should say. We're not humans, we're human bodies. But Paramatma is in the heart of the insect, of the firefly. He's in the heart of the fruit fly, lives for a few hours in that body. He's in the body of a jiva that only has a few hours of life. We have 80 years of life. The firefly has minutes of life. But Paramatma's with that jiva, because after the firefly dies, that firefly takes another birth. And Paramatma's with him in that birth too, guiding him according to that birth. Maybe it's another fruit fly for 100 million times until he gets smart enough to become a grasshopper or a dragonfly or something like that lives longer. But anyhow, Paramatma is with that jiva on and on and on without ever not being with the jiva. If there's consciousness, Paramatma is present. If there's Paramatma present and the jiva is not a Paramahansa, or a uttama, if the jiva is not an uttama adhikari, then Paramatma is doing all the heavy lifting. He's doing all the work for the jiva to be in that body. If it's a dog body, he goes and he sniffs and he bites and he hunts and he eats and he scratches. He does all the things dogs do. And how does he know how to do all those things? Paramatma is guiding him every sniff and every scratch of the way. That's how sobering it is to understand what Paramatma is doing. And why, and I'll remind you again of myself too, why is Paramatma doing this? Why is Paramatma expanding into the, and being next to every jiva in every body that the jiva stupidly, foolishly, and moronically takes? Why is Paramatma doing this? Because the jiva is part and parcel of Krishna. And therefore, part and parcel of Krishna cannot be left with his desires unfulfilled. You got it? Krishna cannot. The jiva, part and parcel of Krishna, is part and parcel of Krishna, the Supreme Lord. Because he's part of the Lord, even though infinitesimal, at least when in the material body, that jiva cannot be left unsatisfied. Even if his satisfaction is to die of alcoholism, even if his satisfaction is to eat human flesh, if it's, whatever the jiva is desiring to do, Paramatma will help him do it because the jiva is part and parcel of. You get that distinction. It's a earth-shattering distinction. The jiva is part and parcel of Krishna, therefore must be satisfied. And if the jiva wants illusory satisfaction, Paramatma will engineer that for the jiva.
Why does the jiva have to pay? I mean, why does he have to pay for his actions then?
What?
What he chooses, what action he chooses, why does the jiva has to pay in terms of karma?
Question, Prabhu.
Yeah. That's not Paramatma's problem. You see, if a man does hellish things and goes to hell in his next birth, guess who goes with him?
Paramatma.
Yeah. Paramatma goes with him to hell.
But Paramatma isn't experiencing pain of hell. We are experiencing.
Can I?
Jiva does not. The jiva does
Paramatma
not.
doesn't get roasted in hell. Paramatma is Krishna. He's transcendental. Hell is material, very material, hotly material. So the jiva goes down and takes a hellish birth. Paramatma's in the heart of the jiva.
There's a lot of static coming in from someone. Is it someone? Static?
I don't know who it is, but I can hear it for sure.
Can someone mute themselves? See where the static is coming from?
I bet it's Bhaktananda's.
No, Bhakta Ananda is muted. Okay, it's gone now. It's gone now.
Well, whoever it was knows it was them because they turned it off.
Anyways, I have a question now. Bhanu Prabhu, that's your question. You can ask.
I mean, if the jiva, I mean, if Krishna is since the jiva is also part of Krishna and he's fulfilling his desires because the jiva is also part of Krishna and it is his desires also. But why are we having to pay for our desires, for our actions?
Why you want to pay?
He's saying
because we're not talking about all jivas, we're talking about jivas in the material world, right?
Yeah.
Materially conditioned souls. Well, isn't it obvious? The materially conditioned soul wants that which is not. He wants asat.
marginal
That
energy. Remember, marginal
But
energy.
I
Can
mean,
I answer this question?
Yes.
Yes,
Bhanu
yes, here
Prabhu,
comes.
I'll just try to give you more clarity on your question. It's a fantastic question, I must say. You're trying to understand why the jiva has to pay for whatever activities it does when it is a part of Paramatma, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, it is very simple. When we are born as jivas, when we are doing activities thinking it is I who is performing it, is when we will be paying for it. If you add more chili powder into your food, you're the one who's going to taste the spicy taste. So, but even in fact, when we think of Lord Krishna and add, spices to our food, it's going to taste perfect. So every small activity, when you do it in your conscious, saying that I am the one who's performing, that is when you will also have to pay for the activities. There were times when I took decisions saying, oh, I'm doing this because I'm thinking of you. I'm doing this because I think you're telling me to do this. This is how I had thoughts. But then I realized that today I'm paying back for all those decisions I made in the name of Krishna, because I was only on the shallow level thinking, oh, it is being directed by Lord Krishna.
Hmm.
Those were my own decisions. When
See,
you take onus of your decisions and realize that it was you who was performing and not Paramatma, that is when we realize that we will be the ones to pay back on all these karmas.
So
Also,
Hare Krishna,
when you
Prabhu.
do,
right.
yes,
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant,
So
brilliant.
here it's
Excellent.
also
Yeah.
I think Prabhupada is also given a guideline regarding this, that sadhu shastra, when sadhu and shastra are both agreeing, then we should execute that.
Very
When
good.
devotees are agreeing, and it is also mentioned in the Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita, that is the correct path to choose.
Who's talking? Who's
Tulsi
talking?
Pati.
Tulsipati
Ronald
Das
Prabhu,
Prabhu.
maybe if you search for the text using the word performer, you will find some text in Bhagavad Gita, because I have read
Very
this in
nice
the
answer,
Bhagavad Gita. Did I answer your question, Banu Prabhu? Did you get an
very nice,
answer?
wonderful answer, Mataji.
Because
Fine.
this came from experience, so I wanted to share it. Please apologize me in
Yes,
case
no,
I'm
no,
saying something and it's not in
Tulsi
resonance
Pati
to the
Prabhu,
meeting.
no.
Tulsi Pati
But you
Prabhu
said
made a
that-
wonderful point. Guru Sadhu Shastra. As
Yeah.
devotees,
Yeah.
we should always check our,
But
understanding.
But even a surrendered soul who is not seeing himself as part and parcel of Krishna, but who is seeing himself as a increasingly advanced jiva, Kadasana, he also will generate karma because he's doing actions in his own name. It's only when you completely surrender, like the Kadasana, that not the Madhyamadakari, when you completely surrender, they say to Paramatma, make me dance, then Paramatma is performing through your body actions for which there are no reactions. Whatever you do as Paramatma's surrendered puppet, there's no karmic reaction. The karma comes in when your thinking, feeling, and willing is determining your action. But when you give up thinking, feeling, and willing, and saying, you do the thinking, you do the feeling, you do the willing. In fact, you do everything. Do the action through my body. I don't need my body. What does I use it for? Just to maintain, my body is used to maintain my body. Forget about it. I don't need to do that. I let go of all of that. You take care, use my body as you see fit, not for satisfying my senses. Use my body for making people surrender to you, to Krishna. Let my body's mouth move and let other people say, oh, I like the way his mouth moves. I think I'll surrender to Krishna.
Mhm.
So if the mouth is moving,
Krishna.
Oh,
surrender to
Haribo.
And I had this question in same context. Every time we want to kill some cockroaches, especially, I feel pain because I have to kill a jiva. And that's when I start chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, because you want to get rid of it. You're at least giving it moksha. Please read the text from the Kali Santana Upanishad, where it talks about the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. It says it will purify all the karmas you have performed previously, knowingly, unknowingly. At least that much we can ask for.
well, you don't have to ask for it. You don't have to ask for anything. Chant Hare Krishna, automatically that will happen.
Yes.
You don't have to ask. You see, when I ask, I am a material person asking for some relief from my karma of action and reaction in my body, which I am assuming is me, but it's not me. You don't have to ask. Just chant Hare Krishna automatically. All the karma will become purified. You
Okay,
see?
we're approaching our time. Tulsipati Prabhu, you're going to take over? You have questions?
Well, Prabhuji, regarding this,
Who's talking?
this Hare
Tulsipati
Krishna
Prabhu.
Narayana Tulsipati Das.
Haribol.
Hare
You've
Krishna,
been
Prabhuji.
listening and
My
not
obeisances.
talking. Now you're talking. I'm happy. I cannot be
Yes.
happy if you're listening. I only can be happy if you're talking.
Please go ahead.
Yeah. So, as in, like, we are all discussing that what we should do or whatever. So, I mean, when I joined in, so I had a lot of ideas, like, through my own, mental concoction. But throughout these years, as Prabhuji's and Mataji's also, and you are telling that, I realized that what my seniors told me, you should do like that. At that point of time, I didn't like that. I was almost hating that that I have to do that. But now I realize that, due to that, whatever progress I have made is due to that, following what they have said, and, not letting my mind come into, in the way.
Exactly.
And so, so and the same thing was told to me, Guru, Sadhu, and Shastri. You have to, confirm all these three aspects. When all
Yes.
these three agree, then you should move forward.
Yes. Yeah, that's excellently put. Excellent point, I think. Because when you follow the parents or authorities or Brahmins or whoever you're following, the first thing you need to be hopeful of is that they are telling you the truth.
Yes,
They're telling you
Yeah.
the right thing.
Yeah. Obviously,
But when
first
you're
thing
dealing
is
with
to.
Paramatma, when you're dealing with Paramatma guiding you from within, you can have no doubt, because Paramatma is not going to deceive you.
Yeah.
Ah,
See,
But then, Prabhuji,
even the
that
best
is the.
intentioned. What?
But then, Prabhuji,
Who's
that is the learning process, right? Because Paramatma want to see whether we are willing to follow or not. He want to see within us. I mean, he want to see that my
is this
senior
Manu?
has ordered me something. No,
Tulsipati.
Tulsipati Das. So
Oh,
it's
okay.
like he within his heart, within my heart, he's saying that whether I'm willing to follow the first. Obviously, the first condition is that one need to know whether who I'm following, whether he's authorized, or whether he's not authorized. Authorized means that he's only guiding you through only Shastra, only through the teachings of Prabhupada. So such kind of spiritual guide is always one should accept. So then second thing is that obviously Krishna wants to see whether whether we are willing to follow or not. It's like instruction is coming from him and I do not agree. Then he's sitting within my heart and he can straight away see that whether I'm sincere or not. So when obviously he will take over when I will show that intent that okay, I am willing to surrender, I am willing to follow what what is been told to me. Doesn't matter whether my yes, Prabhu.
Okay, Prabhu, surrender means let him do it. You don't have to do it. Let him do it. You're not. Paramatma is not a teacher. He's an enabler. He enables whatever you desire, because he will not let part and parcel of Krishna, namely you, go with your desire unfulfilled. So it's a question only that we need to change our desire to be guided by him instead of telling him what to do. If you stop to think of every creature in every species, every ant, turkey, elephant, camel, blade of grass, is demanding from Paramatma, I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that. I need water because I'm a blade of grass. Where do I get water? Where do I get minerals? How do I position myself for the sunlight so I will grow for chlorophyll? How will I do it? Well, that's a demand. And Paramatma satisfies the demand of every blade of grass. He satisfies the hunger of every pigeon in the park where you throw grains. In the park, the pigeons are going chirp, 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 chirping like that. Prabhupada said, yeah, they are chirping. People say, oh, they're just like humans. They're having chirping over lunch. They're having a chit chat over lunch. Prabhupada said, no, they're not. They have nothing to say to each other. And when you understand what they're actually doing, you can see why they have nothing to say to each other. Because the pigeon in the park is going chit, 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 chit. He's saying chit, chit. He's asking, where's the grain? He's colorblind. He can't tell the difference between a little rock and a piece of grain. Where's the grain? A grain, grain, grain. And Paramatma is saying, there, there, there. Every bite for every bird is being guided by Paramatma. That is how complicated it gets. If we think about ourselves, complicated thinking, that's one thing. But if we take into account every bird, every ant, every dog, every cat is asking Paramatma, I want this, I want that. Why? Because the jiva thinks it's the body. As long as the jiva identifies, I am the body of a dog, the doggy body of a cat, I'm a body of a bird, I'm a body of a fruit fly. As long as the jiva identifies with the body that it's in, and believe it or not, all jivas do, as soon as the jiva's in a body, he thinks it's himself, no matter what that body is. It could be a slug, it could be a maggot eating dead flesh. Oh, that's me, it could be flesh, I'm eating dead flesh. The maggot wants to do. So humans are no different than maggots, except their desires are more complicated and they have a very high opinion of themselves, humans do. But it's the same thing, just satisfy my desire, whatever that desire is. So everyone, including the ant, is treating Paramatma like a slave. God, from it was Krishna, God. We all treat Paramatma as though he were our personal slave. Where's my keys? Where's my shoes? I forgot, what was that phone number?
But probably we can't.
Like a slave.
Yeah, probably, but we cannot help that, right? We have to.
Yes, we
have
can.
to.
Prabhupada helped that by saying, make me dance like a puppet. You be the actor, I will be the puppet. I will stop asking for anything. If you want me to, what happens if I surrender to Paramatma? Well, maybe he will not give me anything to eat. Maybe he'll let me starve to death because I'm not asking where's the damned refrigerator and why didn't anybody put food in it. He's not going to do it. I could starve to death. I might walk out in the street naked because nobody bothered to put my clothes on me. I can have that fear. If I don't say, where's my shirt, where's my pants, and where's my belt to keep the pants on, where is all these things? It won't happen. That's Maya. If I say, make me dance like a puppet, it doesn't matter if he sends me out naked. It doesn't matter if I starve to death. It doesn't matter. Nothing matters. I just do what he wants, not what I want. That's every creature except the surrendered soul.
So
Only
can
the
you?
surrendered soul, no, wait a second. Only the surrendered soul says, make me dance. Everybody else says, I'm going to make you dance. Paramatma, you see? So when we say make me dance, you'll find that Paramatma is not mean. We think that we have to treat Paramatma like a bad slave and beat him with a stick every time you don't get what you want. That's horrible, truly horrible, but everyone does it. Everyone, except a pure devotee. So what does a pure devotee? He says, make me dance like a puppet. He doesn't care if Paramatma feeds him. But guess what? Paramatma will put the food in front of his plate, on his plate. I don't care if I'm naked. Doesn't matter. Paramatma will find him clothes to wear. this clothes or that clothes, it doesn't matter. Just clothes. Whatever Paramatma wants him to wear, Paramatma will give him to wear. And you stop being dependent on karma. Oh, I have to be at the doctor's office. No, I don't, get me to the doctor's office, Paramatma. You're supposed to be taking better care of me than you are. No, you just let things go, and Paramatma will take you to the doctor's office, and that's where you need to go. He will do it without being asked. What to speak of without being browbeaten and beaten with a stick by the jiva. That's how merciful he is. He takes crap from the jiva, no matter what species, unless that jiva is Prabhupada. Yes.
Wow. Joy.
That sounds like Mahaprabhu, Prabhu.
I have a question, Narayan.
I'm with you.
What about inanimate objects like rocks, plants, and trees? How do they fit into the scope of things?
Are you asking, does Paramatma guide the rocks?
Yes.
No. There's spirit and there's matter. Our body, our human body, is similar to a rock, it's made of material, pure 100% material energy. There's nothing spiritual about our human body. It's a thing made of earth, fire, water, air, ether, mind, intelligence. It means it has all the ingredients for making steel. It has all the ingredients for making cement. It has all the ingredients for making mulch to grow plants. And what happens when people die? You put them in the garden and the plants get bigger because the body's rotting and it's nutritious. So all the things pertaining to the jiva are Paramatma. But inanimate objects like rocks, there are exceptions. There are some rocks, or diamonds and jewels. There's a Shaimantaka jewel that is a jiva. There are certain things like rocks that are jivas, but they're generally very apparently yogically powerful jewels. But and they can exert influence all over the place by their powerful rays. But other than that, inanimate objects are not guided by Paramatma. And insects may seem to be so low in the totem pole that I've seen rocks with a lot more personality than some insects. Doesn't matter. The insect is a jiva.
Is there
Part of
touchstone?
Krishna, he's being guided by Paramatma. What?
Touchstone, is the touchstone a jiva? Chintamani.
The stone,
Touchstone.
very rarely is a stone a jiva.
Touchstone.
Touchstone?
Yeah.
Yeah, there are certain stones, or put it this way, there are certain things that you don't normally consider jivas that have jivas. A stone is not a jiva, but a jiva can take shelter of the shape and form of a stone. And if he does, Paramatma.
Because whatever touches the touchstone, it becomes gold. It's called Chintamani money.
Well, that could be. It's all karma, you know. Why would a person take birth as a stone? That's their karma.
Because you're referring to Samantaka money, it keeps on giving gold.
If a touchstone is making gold, that doesn't benefit the touchstone, does it? I mean, what does the touchstone go to do? Go off and spend gold in Las Vegas? Gambling? No. The touchstone just makes the gold. Other people find it valuable, not the touchstone. So he's just like a cow giving milk. As far as the cow is concerned, the milk is an inconvenience, because if you let a cow go too long without milking it, it's very uncomfortable and painful for the cow. So we may think the cow is valuable because it gives milk, but the cow doesn't think it's valuable because it gives milk. The cow thinks, I want to eat some grass. I want to digest it with 4 stomachs. I'm a cow and I don't give a hoot about milk. Cows don't care about milk. Cows care about eating grass that produces milk. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So did that answer your question?
Wow, we're
Yeah,
getting
probably.
late.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, but Prabhuji, as we
Yes, go ahead.
read Bhagavatam, so we come across many of the stories like of Karda Muni, like he's considered pure devotee, but he asks Lord for a wife. So he's also asking. He has this desire that he wanted to marry. So then Krishna asked Manu to give his daughter Devhuti to Karda Muni. So, I mean, that is also a desire, and living entity is desiring from Krishna, not even super soul, but Krishna came personally and he, and then he said, I want to get married.
Well, but we have to consider that a pure devotee like Gargamuni, and Gargamuni could not have been the officiating Brahmin at Krishna's his birth. What?
Kardama Muni.
Gargamuni. Yeah, we're talking Gargamuni, right? Who are we talking about?
Yeah, Karda Muni.
Kardama Muni.
I think no, he was Kapil Muni. I actually no, Kapil was his son. Okay, Kapil Muni he came as his son.
Oh, did you say Kapila?
Yeah, Kapil. Yeah, yeah.
Well,
Kapil Muni.
Kapila is the son of Devahuti and Kardama Muni, right?
Yeah, so I was talking about Karda Muni. He so when Lord gave him darshan, so he asked for he wanted to get married. So
well, he had the ashram where Krishna and Arjuna went to the ashram of Gargamuni, right?
Yeah, so I mean he's also considered pure devotee, right? And he asked Krishna that he want to get married.
Why?
That's I don't know why.
Okay, it's a simple answer, really. It's part of his purpose of being born in the earth, pastime. Just like why did Krishna have 10,108 wives? He doesn't need any wives. Why did he get 10,108 wives? These are pastimes, and they're for our benefit. Do you see? Doesn't it make sense? We can't compare ourselves to Gargamuni. If I want to get a wife, it's because I want to have children. I want someone cooking for me. I want a nice sex partner. So I want a wife. I may think like that. But Gargamuni is a pure devotee. So he doesn't think like that. He would be thinking about how does his having a wife affect his relationship with Krishna and his service to the fallen souls. Because after all, Krishna didn't come here to Vrindavan 5,000 years ago. He didn't come here just to
I think Kadamba Muni's desire was for a higher cause.
Yeah, it had to be. I don't know what that cause was.
That way,
but
that way, the Supreme Personality of Godhead was born.
Well, there you go.
Who was the teachings of Lord Kapila? Teaching of Lord Kapila. So if that was not acted, then Lord Kapila wouldn't have came. Just like Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes, Advaita Acharya asking for the Lord to appear. So it's a pastime. We should not make it.
Kapila is an incarnation of Krishna.
Yeah.
But do you know the story of Devahuti and Kardama Muni?
Oh yes. You need to tell it more than 1 hour.
What?
It might take another hour, the story.
Oh, I'm not going to take an hour. She was incredibly gorgeous. So much so that she was on the top of the palace on the roof taking the sun bath. The demigods would float by on the Vimana and they would become so completely overwhelmed by her incredibly attractive beauty that they would fall off their viman and land on the ground. Ouch. That's happened. So, but she wouldn't marry anybody. She wouldn't marry any of them. Who she wanted to marry was a tapasvi sitting by the lake of water that were composed of Vishnu's tears, the what lake, and she wanted to marry him. So the marriage, the king didn't want that. Nobody wanted it, but she did. So they had to arrange the marriage. They got married, and he said, "That's fine, but we will not consummate our marriage until after I finish my meditation." And he sat there by the lake filled with the tears of Lord Vishnu. And she sat there with him in rags for years without moving, without changing her clothes. She sat there austerely. Finally, when he finished his meditation, she came down and took a bath in the lake of Vishnu's tears. And there were all sorts of apsaras and whatnot down in the lake that bathed her and dressed her and made her, refreshed her, and she regained her astonishing beauty and whatnot. And they came out and they took a magical floating palace that they took. And Kardama Muni manifested himself. Did you know the story? He manifested himself 9 times. You know why? Why did he manifest himself 9 times?
To enjoy with his wife, is it?
Yeah, because women are 9 times lustier than men.
Okay.
So he made he became 9 times to have romantic connection with his one wife. And they went everywhere in that floating palace, totally what we would call X-rated journey. And then they went to Mount Meru, which is where the demigods go for vacation. And they went inside the caves of Mount Meru and they carried on their X-rated activities in Mount Meru. All that X-rated stuff, can you imagine? And they came back and she gave birth to an incarnation of Krishna, Kapila. I know this because I was directing the illustration of that book, the teachings of Kapila to Devahudi. So anyhow, there's no way to explain this in karmic terms. We have to explain it in transcendental terms. How can that couple go off? Devahudi, this gorgeous girl with 9 husbands, all of them being Kardama Muni, how can she go off and have a wild time in a palace and then a wild time in Mount Meru and then come back and she gives birth to Kapila? Imagine. Well, of course there's explanations. I don't know the explanation, but the explanation undoubtedly has something to do with Krishna is the source of all pleasure, and therefore in conceiving him, they had to experience every sort of pleasure to give birth to the reservoir of pleasure, who is to be Krishna. Anyhow, that's the best I can do. I probably did answer some decades ago, but I forgot. Anyhow, so is that okay? So we want to be in a position where Krishna guides us from within. And that is Paramatma. Without Paramatma guiding us from within, we're guiding Paramatma from without. So just imagine the offensiveness of trying to control Paramatma, considering who Paramatma is. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we lead him around on a leash as though he were some sort of stray dog. That's what we're doing to Krishna as we speak. Right now, we are trying to make Krishna understand what that crazy man Narayana is saying. And we're asking Krishna, give me some insight, either how to understand him or how to tell him to shut up, for God's sake. One or the other, or both. You see? We're asking Krishna what to do. We asking Krishna to satisfy our desire. That is the whole relationship with Paramatma of the conditioned soul. But when you say, make me dance, as Banu says, if you say, make me dance like a puppet, then we reverse the role. Where does the example given is in the Bhagavad Gita? This description, passive bird and active bird. Who knows who is the active bird? Who wants to say? Who's the active bird in the big Bhagavad Gita? Banu?
Active bird is Jiva.
Bird? Yeah. And who's the passive bird?
Paramatma.
Okay. When Prabhupada said, make me a puppet, make me dance as a puppet to Paramatma, would you say that Prabhupada is still the active bird?
Passive bird. And Paramatma would be the
Passive
active
bird.
bird.
Yes. Prabhupada writes the Bhagavad Gita as it is, and then by his own example, he turns one verse in reverse. Now we have an active bird, Paramatma, and a passive bird with strings attached, puppet, Paramatma, Jiva. So that's our position right now. Let's take advantage of it. I keep talking like a crazy guy, largely because I probably am a crazy
Prabhuji,
guy.
actually,
guy or not.
what you're saying is absolutely right. But at the moment, problem, actually, I don't know about others, but what I feel like is that, even if I want that, I cannot do that right now because, my mind is always there in the way. And I cannot distinguish that whether I'm being guided by my mind or by Paramatma. It's like my mind is fully ignorant. So it's like I cannot distinguish it if I'm asking Paramatma, but there is no guarantee whether Paramatma will tell me or my mind will tell me. Yeah, what?
Exactly. How do I know if this is Krishna speaking through me or this is Maya speaking through me? Meaning my brain.
So let it put me this way.
But the answer is simple, isn't it? You have to ask.
You're asking Paramatma, make me dance, and you're sitting there. So you're waiting for Paramatma to take over. Then I get, so let me eat some food. So is it Paramatma telling you or your desires? So how is it going?
Okay, supposing somebody asks you a question about Krishna consciousness. You can rely on your memory and what you've read, the books you've read, and the books you've understood some verses, maybe misunderstood some verses, but you can go by what you've read and answer them from your brain through your body, right? Or you can say, what does Krishna want? And Krishna then will say, are you kidding me? Do you really want to stop beating me with a stick and ask me what I want? Yes. So what do you want me to do? I said, go ahead. You can use my mouth because that's convenient to use my mouth to speak well, pop, 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 like a puppet. But you have to answer because your answer will be complete and perfect. Perfect and complete is how Krishna is described. It said, because he's completely perfect, he is also the complete balance. So when Krishna is speaking through you, you can allow him to speak through you by desiring that he speaks through you and desiring without thinking of your mind or your body getting in the way. Just let them sit on the back bench. You, conscious Jiva, ask Paramatma, you speak. And you can make a mistake also. Maybe your mind will tell you to say something and you think it's Paramatma and it isn't. Like I'm speaking. Is this Paramatma or it isn't? How do I know? Well,
so you see that we need to sit calm and not do any action and let Paramatma take over.
If you let Paramatma take over, the tendency to give right answers and enlighten others will dramatically increase. The Shreya is instinctively going in that direction. And I ask everyone to go that direction. She picked up on it. Everyone should go in that direction. Make me dance. Speak as though you're part and parcel of Krishna, rather than that you are a material body. It's just a switch. Chiropractic adjustment from asat to sat. Now your identification is sat. And you look at asat objectively. But what happens when I think that I'm always a sat? But if I identify with asat to my body, then being in the body and believing I'm in the body, I'm looking outwardly saying, well, what does my soul like? I'm talking about myself as though I'm out there somewhere. No, you have to say, Aham Brahmasmi. I'm looking now as the soul at the body, not looking through the body as the soul looking through the body at a concept of the soul somehow floating in outer space. You see? You have to be it.
The question is...
Aham Brahmasmi means I am the soul, not that I have a soul. So once you say Aham Brahmasmi, and then you ask Paramatma to speak through you, he will. He's been waiting a long time. Hundreds of billions and gazillions of births, he's waited for you to ask him to speak. Don't you think he'll take advantage of his moment of liberty at your relentless hands for billions of births?
I mean, have you done it?
Huh?
Have you done it? I'm asking, Prabhu.
Are we what?
Have you done it?
Have I what? I try.
Have you let Paramatma take over you?
Well, I mean, insofar as I can speak in a way that resonates in the heart of the listener, that would be, as Shreya said, Paramatma acting and speaking. If I speak from knowledge, it's me speaking with knowledge in my brain. If I am evoking the truth and someone can feel it, the way Shreya was also saying, if I can speak in a way that is evocative, then that is Paramatma. Paramatma is guiding everything we say anyhow.
But
the
Prabhu,
question is, we tell him what we want to say.
If he is speaking through you, we would find it so delightful and so good to hear your words. We would like to hear it more and more. But that's not the case with us.
You don't like what I'm saying. Well, I don't blame you. I'm not very good at channeling Paramatma. I'm crude, egotistical, mean-spirited. But you are listening, correct?
I mean, you put the...
because Paramatma is speaking doesn't mean the listener is going to like what he says. Because, quite frankly, when Paramatma speaks, it goes against the thinking of the embodied person. The person's embodied, he's egotistical, he's all wrapped up in his age, his sex, his gender, his clothing, his ancestors, his race. He's all caught up in that. When somebody speaks from Paramatma, that person finds it very irritating because it goes against everything he believes.
It's a very lengthy answer. As it goes lengthy, we lose attention. But you get the point would be presented somewhere. It's getting to the point. I should have listened to that then, and say it goes like that.
Okay, if you get the point, what we're discussing, that is Paramatma getting you the point. Never mind me. I'm an obstacle. But Paramatma wants you to know, and I want you to know And therefore, I am trying to explain to you, begging Paramatma to make it clear, not from me, but from him to you. Because he's in your heart, he will recognize if you're being talked to properly or if you're talked to egotistically. So that I'm egotistical talking. But the point is that just because you person may not like what is being said, I will tell you quite frankly from my personal experience, not everyone liked Prabhupada's way of speaking. I'm not talking about even devotees, sometimes either imitated Prabhupada or rejected the way Prabhupada talked. But basically, Prabhupada didn't please everybody, even though he was a pure devotee.
But if you could listen to one person talk, it would be to the lengthiest point for maximum hours. It would only be Prabhupada. You can only listen to Prabhupada for hours and hours. He would be the person. He would be the choice of person whom we could listen, not any other person.
Well, first of all, only certain people that were devotees listened to Prabhupada. And if you went out and if Prabhupada spoke at a football stadium, not everybody would want to hear what he had to say. They want a football game. They don't want to hear Prabhupada. The people that listened to Prabhupada were people that came to listen to Prabhupada. And believe it or not, they may have sat and listened very carefully, but a lot of them inside their heads were busy arguing the points Prabhupada was making and even disagreeing with Prabhupada. But they didn't say so, they just did in their minds. Even initiated devotees listened to Prabhupada and disagreed. And you can see that Ramachandra was reading letters from Prabhupada to Karandar. Karandar was an initiated Brahmin GBC, and he disagreed with Prabhupada. So it's not just that if a person is a pure devotee, everybody wants to listen to what they say. If a person's a pure devotee, they may be saying something that the person doesn't want to hear.
I mean, if the person is in good, he would be hearing it in the mode of goodness, and if he has some qualities of, if he's in practicing Vaidya Bhakti, he would be prone to hearing Prabhupada.
Maybe. It depends if he agrees with everything Prabhupada says. If he's a Uttamadhikari, he would agree. But if he's a Kanistadhikari, he might not agree. Now, the thing is, I'm not interested in what I'm saying. I'm interested to hear you being guided by Paramatma, not me. Do you understand? I don't have any interest or desire. I would rather listen to you. If you are externalizing, if you've told Paramatma, make me dance, and every word you utter is coming from Paramatma, I won't say a word. Go ahead, do it, test me. I promise you, I will be enthralled. Shreya, believe it or not, from previous lives, obviously, she had caught so many ideas that I was inspired by what she said. Because she didn't seem to she did a little bit get caught up in some of that, but she didn't seem to get caught up in relativities very much. See the speaking from the spiritual platform as distinguished from speaking from the well-educated material platform. So Bhanu, if you want me to listen and you to talk, then surrender, speak from Paramatma, not from doubt, not from material thinking, not from bodily concept, not from memory, not from past lives, not from anything, just from Krishna in your heart, telling Narayana, you talk to.
Yes, sir. He has a emotion, but men cannot talk like talk with the emotions, that wouldn't be natural when expressing
Okay.
their emotion. So everyone started
Probably,
expressing.
probably I have to go now. So my
Oh.
obeisances to all Prabhuji.
Yes. So anyhow, did what I say give you any insight at all?
Yes, of course, of course.
Oh, I hope
And
so.
I really
Otherwise,
wish
I'm
that
wasting everybody's time.
I really
I don't
wish
want to
that
waste your
maybe
time.
Someday in my life I will be able to do that. Yeah, after long time and I'm worshiping, then maybe finally I would be able to surrender.
It's not. You can say that, but it's not subject to someday because you're eternal.
Yeah.
When you're speaking as an eternal being, there's no more someday. You're just doing it because it's who you really are. Just express who you really actually are as spirit soul. It's just that easy, okay? I don't want to
Yeah, but
talk. I'm
actually
not trying to put myself on a higher. I'm not a higher plane than anybody. You guys are all more highly evolved than I am. I just happen to have good association, having spent a lot of years with Srila Prabhupada. So that's my only good part. But anyhow, it's not like someday. Why not now?
Yeah, but as of now, it's like I'm my mind takes over. It's like my desires take over. So.
Then ask Paramatma to speak over your desires, through your desires, and let your desire be to listen to what Paramatma is saying through you. More entertaining, I'll tell you for sure.
So how it went was, I mean, I was asking for 5 minutes, 10 minutes to Paramatma to take over. It didn't happen. Then the desires took over.
You see, it's not a debate or an adversarial situation. It's sadhu sangha. We're all here. We're all spirit soul. Just speak as spirit soul, and the whole thing will be solved. Don't think about tomorrow or what they have to do, or does Narayana thinks he knows more than I do, or something like that. No, forget it. I don't care about that. I want to hear everybody talking as though it were like a choir singing a very beautiful piece of music. I want everything to be in harmony. I was a composer of music, and I like harmony. So if everyone speaks,
if it is not in harmony, don't say it is in harmony. We show only what is there. We don't show only the bright side of life. We also express. We need to work on what is not right. So we also show. We also work on it by expressing it.
Banu, you know everything. Just talk what you know, not what you've studied and not what you don't know. Just talk about what you do know. Whatever you can explain. If you see when I say something, if you say, oh my God, that guy's so conceited and full of himself, but his reasoning and thinking is full of flaws. So tell the truth. Don't tell me you're full of flaws. Speak the truth. And I will have to say, Banu, that's amazing. I was making a fool of myself talking. You're speaking the truth, and my thinking was full of flaws. So do it. Not just simply adversarial. Oh, Narayana is speaking, and he thinks he knows answers. He even thinks that maybe Krishna's guiding every move we make. The question is, are we surrendered to his idea of what we should do, or are we trying to make him surrender to our idea of what we want to see done? That's all it is. Does that make sense? What does just speak the truth? Understand what is the truth and speak the truth, and then you have no problem at all. Does that make sense at all?
Yeah. So should we discuss next session about how to do it, how to make ourselves dance in the hands of Paramatma.
Who is saying? Who said this?
I'm saying.
Is it Banu?
Yeah.
Or is it
Tulsipati left.
Ramachandra?
Tulsipati just left. And Ramachandra
Oh,
handed
Tulsipati just
made me the host.
say again.
Ramachandra Prabhu made me the host. Tulsipati just left all.
Oh, Ramachandra's off?
Yeah.
He's
made me
muted, but
he's not there.
His picture is still there, but he's not there. Huh?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're in charge. Good.
Yeah.
You know what to do. So what do you want to do to narrow the gap between what Prabhupada says, thinks, and feels, and what you say, think, and feel? How do you want to narrow the gap so that in the end you are in perfect agreement with Srila Prabhupada?
I mean, I listen to Prabhupada lectures and I'm in complete agreement with Prabhupada. I don't find any conflicts. It makes perfect sense what he says.
Then
I mean,
that's how you should. Then you should speak exactly what you hear. Shravanam Kirtanam. First you hear from the spiritual master, then you speak accordingly.
Me and Ramachandra Prabhu discuss about everything. Whenever I hear Prabhupada lectures, we discuss on what the philosophy, what I just heard. That every calls, I mean, on the phone calls, we discuss it on the subject.
You see, everybody speaks like they want to get something. Everyone needs to speak as though they are something. You are spirit soul. So where is the source of dissatisfaction? The spirit soul is not capable of ignorance or dissatisfaction. And you are spirit soul. So do it. Be spirit soul. Speak the truth from the transcendental platform rather than the relativistic material platform. I don't have to tell you that. You already know it. Just do it.
Yeah.
I would like to be inspired by everything that everybody says, and I am. But it's very important that I hear, for me, I need to hear that people are speaking their realization of Krishna as they're channeling Krishna speaking through them. Because I want to hear what Krishna has to say. The only way I can hear what Krishna has to say is if you tell me. With your own voice, delivering Krishna's sound vibration to me. That's what I want. I want to hear Krishna coming from you to me. And I will try to reciprocate with Krishna coming from me to you. But I'm greedy. I'd rather have Krishna coming from you to me.
You say that I have to talk less in every session many times, but you never do that.
What is that? What did you say?
You say that you're talking a lot, and that I like to hear others, I like to hear others speak, but you don't do it.
Okay, I understand you saying that. I only try to speak when I hear somebody is off track. If you're on track, I would rather listen.
Yeah, you speak for 10 minutes or 15 minutes, and it triggers something in us also, a realization.
Would you prefer if I don't do that?
We would also like to contribute to what you're saying.
Well, okay, what do you want to say?
No. When you're speaking on a subject, you're like going in 5 minutes. When you speak for 5 minutes, something also pops out with some realization about this. So we would also contribute.
If someone else wants to, all you have to do is say, I want to say something, and then I'll be quiet. I only talk when I feel there's an empty space to be filled with sound vibration. But if you want to say something, say, Narayana, I'd like to say something. Do you think I'm going to tell you to shut up? No.
It doesn't. Let me complete and go on for more 15 minutes.
See, we're all acting like cripples. We have to act like athletes or acrobats. We have to feel freedom when we speak. Love and freedom. Bliss.
Hare Krishna.
Yes. That sound vibration is a good one. When he says Krishna, it's believable.
Lord.
So,
Shall we
Bhanu, speak as much as you like, whenever you like, but try to speak from Krishna guiding you from within.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, like that. Krishna guiding you from within. And the more you talk with Krishna guiding you from within, the less I will have any reason to talk at all.
Yeah. Sure, Prabhu.
Is Ananda still here? Who's still here?
Mahaprabhu.
Jai.
There's Bhanu, there's Mahaprabhu,
And Ananda Prabhu.
Mahaprabhu in the house.
Ananda.
Yeah, he's there. He just spoke.
Oh yeah, Ananda did, yeah.
Haribo.
Haribol. So what do you think? Bhanu is complaining that I'm speaking too much, and I agree. So what do you say?
No.
Whatever Paramatma wants.
If the only purpose or justification for me saying something is to put something into the ether that people have not considered before. If everyone already knows what I'm talking about, and I'm boring them to death by repeating what they already know, then they should be talking, not me. Is that fair?
What was that last part?
Oh, that if I am talking, saying to people things they already know, then they should be talking, not me.
Let's see.
I would rather listen than talk. It's more entertaining.
Just getting to the right point rather than speaking all over the subject and then getting to the point.
Well, I don't like chit chat. I don't like what human beings do, talking at or across or with each other, just to be able to feel good about their ability to talk. And I talked and he talked and I talked, he talked. That's all bodily consumption. When you talk, please talk from the spiritual platform, then I'll be fascinated.
Yeah, if we can talk for 10 minutes and we also get some realization, so we can also talk on the subject. That way it won't go off track.
Anytime you want to talk, talk. Just like just now you talk. Anytime you want to talk, start talking. But try to be talking from the platform of being guided from within with what you say, not just expressing doubt.
Krishna.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
we interrupt you because we are being guided within. Therefore, we would like to add a comment or something to it, some add contribution.
well, do just jump right in,
Sure.
but jump in gracefully.
Okay.
Jump in like a ballerina, not like an elephant.
Hare Krishna.
No,
shall
I
we
don't have any
conclude?
attachment. I only talk when I think I know what I'm saying is true. If somebody else sees something true, they should say it. Don't listen to me all the time.
No, it's fine. You talking is very fine. I mean, as the new people come in, they need to know about the subject also. So you can go on. I mean, because new people are coming in.
Let's you and me become twins. I talk, you talk. I talk, you talk. I talk, you talk. Like twins.
Sorry, I'm complaining.
Yes, I want people to become Krishna conscious. And how to become Krishna conscious? By being guided from within. That is at the end, if we're going to the end of the 10,000 years of the League for 10,000 years, the end, 9,350 years from now, counting negatively, of course, starting backwards, well, we are going to have so many people speaking pure Krishna Katha at that time. Persons who have entered into the rasa with Krishna, who nonetheless want to stay here and deliver other people up from Maya into the spiritual sky. So it will become fascinating conversations. We will all be vibrating in ecstasy at each other's sound vibration. Everybody, 100 people in one room, or 1,000 people in one room, they start speaking and hearing and chanting all together. They will be vibrating like instrument strings on a musical instrument.
Until then, you vibrate and we'll add to your vibration by vibrating in between.
Yeah. So there's a speaker and there's a hearer. Whoever hears, the speaker, listener should try to listen to someone who is speaking the truth. And then the listener, when he has heard the truth and has his own realizations pertaining to the truth, then the listener should become the speaker and therefore enlighten the person who is formally speaking. So if someone is speaking and you become enlightened by it, then when you've got a realization, then you speak and he will become enlightened by what you say. It's not a one-way street. Sadhu Sangha means all of us, not just one or two or three of us. Does that make sense?
Sure.
So Banu, it's getting to be later than noon for me here in Los Angeles. In fact, it's 12:30 at night. And I begged your permission to leave. And since you're the boss, I have to ask your permission.
You rule, Prabhu, you rule. Hare Krishna.
Joy. So does anyone have more to say? Anybody? Or is it okay to leave right now? Mahaprabhu, you. Hari Bol, yes.
Hare Krishna.
Have you noticed that Mahaprabhu hardly ever says anything, but when he says something, it is like transcendental. He
The
says,
three
Hari
words,
Bol.
Hari Bol, Rama Rama, and fantastic.
Yeah. And what's wrong with
A
that?
wonderful discussion tonight.
I'm sorry?
Wonderful
It
discussions
was a
tonight.
wonderful discussion tonight.
Yeah. Doesn't it make you feel we might be back at the, what is it called? I forget what it's called in Athens, where all the philosophers would gather and discuss things together. We might as well be Socrates and Plato and all those people, or worse yet, we could be, Immanuel Kant or something of that sort. We might